That doesn't seem to me to be what President Trump is doing. He's not imposing a right-wing ideology. What he wants is free and fair inquiry, and that seems to be something I would have thought that most Americans think colleges should provide.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with Editor-in-Chief Hugo Gurdon. Hugo, in your column this week, you write about the dispute between the Trump administration and Harvard. And let's just start with, broadly speaking, Harvard and its many defenders on the left have portrayed this as a First Amendment fight concerning government overreach. Do you think that's an accurate characterization?
No, I don't think it's accurate. I think there's a fundamental thing here which most people would recognize, an ordinary person would recognize, and that is that he who pays the piper calls the tune. If you're handing over money to people, there are certain conditions that you can put on that money. And one of those conditions is that, in the case of Harvard or any other college, that the university fosters an environment of free and fair inquiry and more specifically prevents the kind of barracking of Jews and disruption of academia that took place in the aftermath for weeks and months after the October 7th, 2023 attack by Hamas on Israel. There's an odd dichotomy here. People who hold out their hat for money with one hand and brandish a pistol, in this case a lawsuit with the other, are called highwaymen. They're not. We understand that those are the bad guys, and it seems to me that that you cannot at one and the same time say we want complete independence, now give me the money.
This sort of tension, as you mentioned, between the idea of academic independence but dependence on the federal government for money wasn't really talked about in this way when Obama, for example, pressured colleges over gender issues, right?
Yes, that's a very good point, Sarah. There is a strong parallel between what President Trump is now trying to do and what President Obama did back in his administration, which was to tell colleges that their federal funding would be put in jeopardy if they didn't meet federal standards, that is to say the standards that Obama wanted, on gender and sexual matters. Now, the fact that Trump is now doing to some extent what Obama did doesn't mean to say that it is better for that. The relationship between federal grants and the colleges will have to be disputed, and there are a lot of people who made a great deal of fuss about what Obama was doing. Amongst them, I think myself, who thought that it was absolutely wrong to impose a left-wing ideology on colleges under the threat of withdrawn funds. That doesn't seem to me to be what President Trump is doing. He's not imposing a right-wing ideology. What he wants is free and fair inquiry, and that seems to be something I would have thought that most Americans think colleges should provide.
Setting aside the legal questions here, because there are a lot of legal experts who would say Trump is actually on pretty solid ground legally,
yes,
at least in this area. Politically, a lot of prominent Democrats have lined up behind Harvard, including former President Barack Obama. Is this a smart thing for Democrats to do to continue to ally themselves with unpopular institutions that most Americans want to see reformed?
No, it does seem to me to be another example of the Democrats championing the minority in and I don't mean racial or ethnic minority, but championing issues on which they are down 80-20 with general public opinion. One of the strengths of President Trump politically over the course of a decade now is that he has been able to identify popular themes and popular ideas, the sort of things that ordinary people believe and want, and to champion those. And the odd thing about people wanting to oppose, the Democrats obviously in the left, wanting to oppose President Trump, is that they feel that they therefore have to take the other side. And repeatedly, they are taking the side where everybody thinks this is pretty crazy and what's to like about these people.
Well, Hugo, thank you so much for being here today. You can read more from Hugo and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.